Hello everybody. Today we are looking at Unit 8, Lesson 12 on the Pythagorean theorem on a coordinate grid. And just a review of the Pythagorean theorem, it's a right triangle and the sum of the squares of the two legs is equal to the hypotenuse squared. And we can use the formula a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where a and b are the legs and c is the hypotenuse. So looking at an example of how we use the Pythagorean theorem. The Pythagorean theorem, we have two leg lengths, and the hypotenuse represents the longest side of a right triangle, and it is always going to be opposite of that right angle. And just a review of how we use the Pythagorean theorem. So we've got a length of 5 and a length of 12. And the part we don't know is our hypotenuse, so our c value. So if we use our Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, we would have 5 squared plus 12 squared equals c squared. And remember, it doesn't matter which one of these we use as a and b. We could have flip-flop these and this was a and this was b, but it won't matter because we're just adding. 5 squared is 25. And 12 squared is 144 equal to c squared. If we add 25 plus 144, we get 169 is equal to c squared. And the last step is to take the square root of each side to get 13 equal to c. So the length of our hypotenuse in this example is 13. So we can actually apply the Pythagorean theorem to a coordinate grid to find the distance between 2 points. If we've got our coordinate grid, it's easy to tell the distance between B and C, for example, and A and B, because we can look at this coordinate grid and count those units. So counting from A to B, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is a distance of 10. So between points A and B is 10. Between B and C, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 between B and C. But now we need to find between A and C. And if you can see our right angle, you can actually create a right triangle by connecting A and C. And now we are just trying to find that length of that hypotenuse. And to find that length, so this one was 9, to find that length, we would use our Pythagorean theorem. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We know the lengths of the two sides. We have 10 squared plus 9 squared is equal to c squared. 10 squared, we have 100. 9 squared, we have 81. So 181 is equal to c squared. And if we calculate that out, take the square root of 181, we end up with about 13.45 is the length for c squared. Looking at another example, if I want to find the distance between these 2 points, remember we can connect this with a right triangle. So here's one leg length. Here's the other leg length. I can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, a length of 4 here. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. A length of 12 here. You could also subtract the distances, subtracting your x coordinate minus this x coordinate. And actually now I just realized the units are different here, so counting on this one is a little bit different because my numbers aren't coming out to 12 and 4. So if we actually subtract with this one, so 3 minus 1, this distance here is 2. And for counting, you would have this represents 1 unit, so 1, 2. So this is a length of 2. Otherwise, you can subtract your y coordinates. 3 minus 1 equals 2. And if we subtract our x coordinates, 4 minus a negative 2, adding the opposite, we end up with 6. And if you count with the units, now that I realize the units are intervals of 2, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 for those. So this was a length of 2, this one is a length of 6. Now we can use our Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So 2 squared plus 6 squared equals c squared. 4 plus 36 is equal to c squared. And 40 is equal to c squared. Last step, you want to take the square root of each side, and the square root of 40 is about 6.32. Would be the length of C, so about 6.32. You could also leave this as a simplified radical, so the square root of 40, if you break this down to perfect square factors, this is the same as the square root of 4 times the square root of 10, and then that would simplify further to square root of 4 is 2 times the square root of 10 to get a simplified radical answer of 2 square root of 10, which is the same as about 6.32. So very important, pay attention to the intervals. I missed it the first time, but pay attention that the units actually are the same as what you think. And one surefire way to know that you have the right units is just subtract those coordinates. So the y coordinate minus this y coordinate, x coordinate minus this x coordinate, and you'll have your two values. One more example here, creating a right triangle. We would have a vertical distance here to see this right triangle, horizontal distance here, and then we're trying to find the distance between those 2 points. So we're trying to find C in this one. Double checking that my units are each 1 unit. This would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for that length. So A squared plus b squared equals c squared. 7 squared plus 6 squared is equal to c squared. Simplifying next step, 49 plus 36 is equal to c squared. And then if we add 49 plus 36, we end up with 85 is equal to c squared. And if we want the simplified radical of this, so taking the square root of each side, square root of 85, if you divide out a 5, actually this one doesn't simplify, square root of 85 has just 2 prime factors, so this would be the simplified radical version. If you want it as a decimal though, taking the square root, this would equal approximately, so C is approximately 9.22. So that would be the length of C. And then the square root of 85 is our simplified radical because it's 2 prime factors that multiply to get 85. One last example, and I need to extend my view up a bit here. So this example says that Roland went on a hike to visit a cave in the mountains. To begin his hike, he faced west and hiked for 3 miles. Then he turned to the south and traveled for 2 miles. After a water break, Roland again continued west for 4 miles. Turning north, he counted for 3 miles. Next, Roland turned left for 2 miles, and then he took a right and counted on his hike for a final 6 miles until he discovered his location of the cave. How far did he travel from his starting point? So if we think of this as being our starting point, this is where Roland is starting off. Reading through our problem says he began his hike and faced west and hiked for 3 miles. So if you think of this as being a compass, north, east, south, and west. If he goes west for 3 miles, 1, 2, 3, he would be here. And then if he turns south and travels for 2 miles, so south would be counting down 2 miles. So that was this 2 miles. After a water break, he counted again west for 4 miles. So he continues west for 4 miles, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then he turns north, and he continues for 3 miles, 1, 2, 3. Then he turns left, 2 miles. Left is going to be like west, so 2 miles, 1, 2. And then he turns right and hikes for 6 miles. So turning right, after going this way, turning right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's where Roland stops. Here's where he found the cave at this point here. So now we've got our distance. We have to figure out how far did he travel from his starting point. So we could add up all of these distances. So the 3 plus the 2 plus the 4, but it's not the direct distance. It's not the shortest distance from the 2 points. So the shortest distance, we want to know how far is it from here to here. So this is where you could create your right triangle and use the Pythagorean theorem. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is our distance of 7. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Here's our distance of 9. And we need to find C. So 7 squared plus 9 squared is equal to C. 49 plus 81 is equal to C. And that comes out to be 130 is our distance for C. Last step, if you take the square root of each of those, square root of 130 is about 11.4. So he is about 11.4 miles away from where he started. So your practice assignment for this lesson is an online worksheet, and I want you to complete numbers 1 through 8. Double check that you've used the Pythagorean theorem correctly, and then complete that quiz. If you need help, I have office hours Monday through Thursday 10 to 11, Fridays from 9 to 10. You can always reach me on Skype or connect with me through phone or Kmail.